I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm Brittany Pacheco, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the latest film from Marvel Studios, Captain America: Brave New World. And as we record it, it's President's Day, so in honor of the great presidency that was Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, we will honor him with this podcast.
However short-lived.
Yeah, very short-lived presidency. Yeah, by the way, we didn't know who the vice president was. We don't know who the current president is of the MCU.
No.
We had a president in Secret Invasion, but that guy obviously was either voted out or something happened to President Ritson, but not really sure.
Scroll.
Secret Invasion. I think they don't want, they want us to kind of sweep it under the rug, and I get it. That was not a great show. However, let's talk about Captain America: Brave New World, the latest film. Before we get Brittany and my take on this movie, let me hit you with some Captain America facts. Released on February 14th, 2025, Valentine's Day. It's the 35th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the 5th film in Phase 5, and it's the 4th Captain America film. It was originally titled Captain America: New World Order. That was changed. There are a lot of changes to this movie. We will discuss those here in a little while. Yep. Runtime, 1 hour, 58 minutes. Opening box office did pretty well. Opening weekend, $192 million. The budget is reported $180 million, which to me sounds kind of low, given how much these movies typically cost, given the Red Hulk of it and all the CGI stuff. I'm not sure I believe
and the
that.
Reshoots.
And the reshoots, lots of reshoots. So yeah, I'm not sure I believe that. Directed by Julius Ona, and there are 5 screenplay writers for the film, so that might explain a lot of the changes and how some of the issues that the film has. And the cast, of course, Anthony Mackie, Danny Ramirez, Shira Haas, Carl Lumbly, Giancarlo Esposito, Tim Blake Nelson, Liv Tyler, and Harrison Ford. Brittany, what are your overall thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World?
Overall, I really actually enjoyed the movie, considering that it was not directly, in a way, a sequel to The Incredible Hulk. And for those of you who are new here, I'm not a huge fan of the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk. I love Edward Norton. I don't care for that movie. Like I think to catch up on the movie one time, I watched like a 4-minute like super fast recap of it, and that was all I needed. So considering that we're kind of like picking up from that story in a way, and then also finally doing something with the damn Celestial in the Indian Ocean, like thank God that's finally been addressed. I was excited to see the cameos. I can talk, I swear. I was excited for a certain all-important medal, if you will, that was revealed in this movie. And then also seeing a greater storyline that is Sam Wilson as Captain America. I know there's like a lot of buzz about how people took whatever Anthony Mackie said about Captain America out of context. And it's just like, y'all like just need to chill out. Okay. Just need to chill out. For what the movie was, I thought it was very well done. It was straightforward. It did feel a little disjointed with Giancarlo Esposito's character. And then I later found out why, in a way. We'll talk about that in a moment. But for what his character was, and I love him as an actor. Like in the things that we've watched him as of late, the man is like, 5 for 5, right? He always nails it. He does a great job in his performances. I just felt like that was kind of a weird spin, or maybe just a weird character to put in here. And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Storyline was straightforward. As I said, it from start to finish, they explain things well. Especially with the explanation of the Red Hulk and how the Red Hulk more or less came to be. I very much appreciated that explanation, because I felt like it was just going to be like, it's just because. No, they actually really thought about this story and making sure there were very little holes. I do have some issues with like maybe 1 or 2 things that may have happened in this movie, but overall, I really did enjoy it. It's not a terrible movie. It's not a great movie. I still rank Captain America: Civil War as my favorite Captain America movie, because it's basically Avengers 2.0. Yeah. But overall, with all the Captain America movies, they've done, kind of mid. So this is still kind of like on par with ratings and things like that. But like, I think for it being our new Captain America, that is Sam Wilson, he's writing his own story. He's, struggling with the identity or the moniker that is Captain America.
Mhm.
But I think it's a story that a lot of people can relate to in the sense of, trying to live up to maybe an unrealistic expectation, and you just have to do your best. And I think that's kind of all that we can do in life. But yeah, overall, this was a solid movie. Way better than Craven. Let's put it that way. Way better than Craven.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's not even worth discussion. I do have a thing I want to. You mentioned the Captain America movies you thought were mid. I don't really agree with that. Now, Captain America
No, no, no,
is
no,
my
no, no,
favorite
no, no, no.
character.
I'm
Yeah,
not
good.
saying mid. I'm saying in the sense of in their ratings, they haven't like been like 8 point and above. They're like generally 6.7, like just like
Oh,
movie
okay,
ratings in
okay.
general. And so, no, no, no. I
Yeah,
think that
I
Captain America movies are great. Don't
yeah.
misunderstand me. I love Civil War, love Winter Soldier. But in the respect of like how those movies perform compared to like Avengers or Iron Man might not be the best comparison, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah.
it still kind of ranks like in terms of ratings, it's on par with the rest of the ratings, if you will.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Um, I thought this movie was good, not great. Captain America is my favorite character in the MCU. I've got the new Captain America shirt where he's got the Hulk, Red Hulk's punching down on the shield. I was really looking forward to this movie, but this was a movie that I think because I'm so locked in on this stuff, nothing really surprised me from this movie. This movie, I mean, and that part of it's my fault because I know too much about this stuff and I know about all the stuff that happens, all the stuff that's reported, all the rumored stuff, which, not everything that's rumored is true, obviously, but there's a lot of stuff that ends up kind of becoming true in the wash. This movie really kind of like just followed the way the trailer presented it. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't really surprising at all. Um, however, and I have plenty of criticisms. I'm gonna get to some of them here in a little while. I do want to say the movie got three things very right. And most importantly, they established Sam Wilson as Captain America, which I was never really worried about that. I know Frank's not on the show tonight, but he was concerned about how Sam Wilson will be received as Captain America in the film. Again, I wasn't concerned because, Anthony Mackie's been in this universe. He's been acting as Sam Wilson since 2014. He's been in all the biggest movies. Started out in Winter Soldier. He was in Civil War. He's in Endgame, Infinity War. Like he's in the big movies. And so like he's one of our guys. So I was not worried about that. I thought the movie really established him, further cemented him as being Captain America going forward. Again, wasn't concerned with that. I thought he looked cool. I liked his suits. I like all the action, all the use of the shield. I mean, I think the shield might have been used the most in this movie, like even more than every other Captain America movie combined.
Hands
That
down.
stuff, yeah, that stuff is really cool. So Mackie knocked it out of the park with Sam Wilson. Again, wasn't worried about that. Number two, I was concerned, how is the Red Hulk gonna look in this
Mm.
world? I thought the Red Hulk looked amazing. Like maybe not Thanos level, but like not too far off. I thought especially making the Red Hulk look like, like Harrison Ford if he hulked out, which is what happens. Thought it looked pretty good. And number three was obviously we knew that Captain America and Red Hulk were gonna fight. I was concerned about how that was gonna look. Would that be awesome? And that's the best part of the movie. The end of the movie, the final, the 5 to
Showdown.
7 minutes showdown between Captain America and Red Hulk is awesome. It's the most rewatchable part of the film. I've seen the movie twice now. In the future, I doubt I'll watch the whole movie. I may just watch that fight. Um, yeah, no, they definitely nailed those three. And then as far as like criticisms, and we'll get into all that stuff, but I think that as good as the Red Hulk looks in the movie, a lot of the other visual stuff does not look good. And I really just don't understand why these movies don't look as good as they used to, even like 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, all the way back, like this weekend, I watched Avengers and I watched Captain America: First Avenger, and these movies like these are from 2011, 2012. These movies look really good, and something about the way they make these new movies, I don't know if it's because the CGI is just quicker, they don't take their time with it, or if they found a cheaper way to do it or whatever. I mean, cheaper in that fact they can do it faster. It just doesn't look cinematic. And there's definitely moments where you see the reshoots, where you hear the ADR, where you hear like you see like stuff that doesn't really work. And to me, there's way too much of that in these movies. Quantum Mania had that. We've had that a little bit in Doctor Strange, Thor: Love and Thunder. That's kind of been like something that we've noticed a lot in Phase 4 and Phase 5. Um, that's probably my main criticism. And there's some other stuff we'll get to, but Brittany, we talked about Cap and Sam Wilson. What'd you think about Harrison Ford playing Thunderbolt Ross and becoming Red Hulk?
I love that Anthony Mackie, when it was revealed that Harrison Ford was joining the MCU in that role, that Anthony Mackie is like, "Hey, tell Tom Holland I got fucking Harrison Ford." So,
Yeah.
which was great. I love Harrison Ford. I absolutely love him as an actor. And R.I.P. to William Hurt, who, if I'm not mistaken, Justin, he actually did pass away from a heart attack or something related. It was
I know he died in 2022, but I don't know
He did.
how.
He did. I just can't remember how off the top of my head. Bad me. I should have researched it. However, I think the transition from William Hurt to Harrison, because William Hurt was playing a badass general, right? Someone that was a wartime general. And then you get Harrison Ford, who has also been president in another movie from way back in the day, but he's also had many roles where he's played a general type. And one of my favorite movies of his is Ender's Game, and he is training like these genius kids to fight this war with this ant-like enemy. And he's kind of a hard ass in that movie as well, especially towards kids. So to see him be a hard ass as president, and then tap back into his general type ways with Sam Wilson, Captain America, I was like, ooh, how is he going to Hulk out? And listen, I was not disappointed. For a 200-year-old man, I'm just kidding, he's 82, y'all. But for Harrison Ford being 82 years old, him getting pissed off, yelling at you, like you believe him, you feel it in your bones when he's mad. And I think it was a really smart recast. I love the nods that Sam makes to the new president, saying, if I may say so, I'm still getting used to the new look. Obviously it's a whole other actor. It's like, well, get rid of the mess. If you lose the election, if you don't lose the mustache, or whatever the line is. But I thought that was a cute little way just to acknowledge that we have a whole other person portraying this character. And then to tie back into something that was said, I can't remember if it was Civil War. I think it had to have been Civil War, when General Ross was talking to the Avengers about the Sokovia Accords, and he said that he had a heart attack on the 18, and tying that back into this story for it to make sense as to why Ross went to another character we'll talk about later. So I liked how they tied up these loose ends in this movie. I think it was really smart and really well done. And Justin, before we continue, I just want to give a quick shout out to those in our live chat. Kimby Johnson, who says Happy President's Day 25. Appreciate you being here so much. And of course, the one and only Christian of McDorks, who says, excuse me, Christian, the Marvel legend has arrived. No, we won't come for you. We appreciate you being here, Christian. Love to hear your thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah, please share in the live chat. We do appreciate that. As far as Harrison Ford in this movie, I thought he did a great job, but because it's Harrison Ford, it doesn't feel like the same character. Like, his Thunderbolt Ross is just not the same as William Hurt. We saw William Hurt play this character, like you mentioned, starting with Incredible Hulk, which is 2008. This movie is sort of a sequel to the Hulk. You're talking about, you've got Thunderbolt Ross, who obviously, like you said, he was in like a handful of Marvel movies. He was in Hulk and Civil War, and he was in Black Widow, and there's probably a couple more that I can't. He's in Endgame, and I'm sure he's not in Infinity War, but there's 4 or 5 appearances for him. And this movie just feels like a different character with Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford, he's Indiana Jones, he's Han Solo. Like, how many times does he play a villain? Really, he doesn't in his career. He probably has before, but I can't think of any times, or very many times, if any. So when you add him to the movie, I think it changes the character. And I think that originally Red Hulk was supposed to die in this movie, because there are a lot of trailer shots that show a funeral, and Betty Ross is at the funeral. And like there's like photos that were like, some paparazzi photos where Liv Tyler was at the funeral. There's all these like funeral shots, like military people like folding a flag and firing guns and stuff. And I think originally Red Hulk was supposed to die. And then who knows when they made the decision to change it up. And I don't know if it was when Harrison Ford signed on or if it was later in the game, because there was all kinds of stuff that changed with this movie. And we'll get into more of that in a little bit. But I never felt like the connection between Betty and this version of Ross is just not there, because again, it's been like 17 years since that movie. And you've got a different actor playing Thunderbolt Ross, and he's playing the character in a different way. So obviously Thunderbolt Ross is supposed to be kind of a changed person after his heart attack. And now that he's in politics and, he's trying to, his slogan is together, he wants people to work together. That's his campaign slogan as the president. But I just didn't, I don't know. I mean, did you think it felt like Thunderbolt Ross to you? Because it didn't to me at all.
I think it was the opportunity to morph the previous Thunderbolt Ross, because I can't see the previous Thunderbolt Ross being the Red Hulk. Does that make sense? Because I feel like
I disagree. I think I don't know what he looked like as the Hulk, but like he was, like you said, he was like this badass general who, he was the Hulk hunter in The Incredible Hulk. So to me, him becoming Hulk, that version is even more appropriate because he hated the Hulk.
True. But I feel like the intensity of how angry Harrison Ford's Ross got compared to that with William Hurt's, I feel like off the top of my head, I can't really recall seeing William Hurt as pissed off as Harrison Ford's Ross was. And I feel like that kind of intensity was needed in order to really display the anger that is the Red Hulk. I mean, Hulks in general are just pretty angry overall, but like the fact that the Red Hulk, like anything that touched him, it was just burning off of him. And I feel with, once again, Harrison's being so agitated by being questioned by Sam at one point in the movie of why did he go to this one character for help, et cetera, et cetera. He didn't want to admit that at all because of how much obviously he hated Hulk and all this other stuff. But like, it's like it was within him and he knew it. He just didn't want to admit to it. And I feel like Harrison Ford is the one that can really deliver that type of performance to show just how pissed off he was. Because when he started yelling, he's like, because I was dying, because my heart, like I can't see William Hurt go to that level. You know what I'm saying?
I think he could, but I think
I'm not saying he couldn't. I just couldn't see it like in the character that he was Ross. Mm-hmm. Harrison all day, because I saw it in Ender's Game. I saw it as Han Solo, especially in the later Star Wars sequels. But I definitely see it more in Harrison to get that angry, that pissed off, and like he's gonna fight you versus William Hurt's Ross.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I just think with going Harrison Ford, you're going with a bigger star, and you're going like it's going to be you're going for the box office, right? That's why you have Red Hulk all over the marketing for this movie. I think that this movie, if this were a better movie and like a movie that happened in Phase 3 that was like when Marvel was rolling, I think the Hulk would have been a secret. I think that would have been something that would have been a secret, and then till obviously someone would have spoiled it for you because they would have seen it.
Yeah.
It would have gotten out there, but he's all over the marketing for this movie. The Red Hulk is. Sure. So, that's something else I want to mention. The movie has 5 different people who are credited for the screenplay. And, as people talking about how this is the first Captain America that doesn't have Chris Evans. This is the first Captain America that doesn't have Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely writing the movie. They wrote all 3 Captain America movies. They wrote Infinity War. They wrote Endgame. One of them, McFeely, he's actually going to write, Doomsday and Secret Wars. So those guys are going to be returning, thankfully. But I think the writing in this movie really is lacking in many parts of the movie. It just doesn't flow very well, and you can kind of feel how there's like parts of it that are like, well, this was from the original version, this is from the newer version. We've added characters, we've taken characters away. It's just kind of a mismatch in some ways. Like I said, I think Mackie carries it, and they do the best they can. But this is not like. I've seen them, like I saw the movie twice in theaters, and the second time I was just kind of like, okay, let's get to the fight. Let's get to the Cap Red Hulk fight as quick as possible.
But I think the storytelling was still done well. for what it was. And I'm going to kind of bounce back and forth between us talking and then comments here in the chat. Justin Christian says, love the movie for what it was. Harrison Ford was different, but to me was a bit more blended than how they replaced Rhodes, referring to the Terrence Howard shift to Don Cheadle as Rhodey. And I can see that. I know it was kind of, for me, it was like a really hard, like, whoa, this is a hard stop.
The difference is Terrence Howard was in one movie. You know,
that's true.
He was in the first movie.
But he still established like the character, if you will.
Right. But like, I mean, how many times has Don Cheadle played that character now?
Oh, well, that's apples and oranges in that respect. But like, yeah, I mean, that was like a, whoa, this is a completely different sort of approach in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. Kimmy Johnson says that Harrison Ford is naturally great at being grumpy and mad. He's so good. Yes, I agree. And yes, I too was kind of waiting for the whole get off my plane. Line.
Speaking of that, did y'all notice the kind of Easter eggy thing that as President Ross he's either on the plane or maybe, I guess he had to be on the plane. He had like a little jacket on that had said Air Force One on it.
Yes.
Air Force One was the movie where he was the president. Yeah.
That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. So that was a cool little Easter egg.
I mean, you have to kind of give those little nods here and there. I mean, it's just appropriate.
Yeah. Sticking with Red Hulk and how his character ended in this episode, in this movie. I heard people say that it's like, oh, this is like an episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It didn't feel like that to me really at all. It did feel like more of a sequel to the Incredible Hulk than it did like a Captain America movie. It was kind of a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. It was kind of a mixture, but
although I feel like this movie, especially at the very end where Sam is talking to Red Hulk and trying to like talk him down, I'm like, oh my God, this is What If. This was the one episode in What If when Sam Wilson's Captain America is talking down or not trying to talk down Hulk or Bruce Banner to come and fight in the war and what have you. I'm like, oh wow, this like semi foreshadows how Sam Wilson would be towards a Hulk, which was kind of funny.
With that, the way the fight was going with Sam and the Red Hulk, I thought maybe Bruce Banner was going to come in and try to do something because, Mark Ruffalo, it's probably 2 years ago now, but he said something where people like asked him if he was in the movie and he said he was. And then then later on he said, no, I wasn't. I misspoke, but he's done that before in the past. So like, I was like, well, maybe he's in this movie. It would make sense for him. Yeah, I know. And that doesn't bother me, but I was kind of surprised that he wasn't in the movie at all.
I'm not at all surprised. I mean, he's still on loan from Universal, so
yeah, but the movie's not called. As long as the movie isn't called, I mean, Red Hulk is a Hulk character, So as long as the movie's not called Red Hulk or Hulk World or the Incredible Hulk 2, Marvel can do whatever they want to with the character in the movies. So
yeah, I mean, and Christian agrees with you. He wishes Hulk was in it. They needed to do it.
Yeah,
I get that. I just feel like when you add Hulk, like the actual Incredible Hulk, into a Captain America movie, then it's taken away from the Captain America movie. This is Anthony Mackie's, big time role in a movie theater, movie to be Captain America.
Right.
And I feel like that he would have completely been, what's the word? Overshadowed.
I mean, I kind of understand that, but also at the same time, it's like, you're talking about in the movie, Ross tells Sam, like, I want you to rebuild the Avengers or restart the Avengers, which I thought was weird because it's like, it's not really.
Yeah, but that's planting the seed for something else.
Right. I know, but develop. Like, you're running out of real estate. Like, there's only like, we have Thunderbolts coming up in May. There might be some Avengers in that movie. I doubt it. Then we have Fantastic Four. I don't think we're going to see any Avengers in Fantastic Four. And then the movie after that is May 2026 Avengers Doomsday. So it's like, you got to kind of like start bringing these characters back into the fold. And I know like Hulk, the last time we saw Hulk was in She-Hulk with his son, and maybe Hulk is off world. I don't exactly remember how that all kind of shook out, but he showed up like it was like a backyard. It's almost like a Fast and Furious like backyard scene, like a
well, that was with his son and She-Hulk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I'm not sure how that'll kind of all shake out, but again, I thought it was an opportunity to bring him in. like I'm glad Bucky was in the movie. I wasn't sure Bucky was going to be in the movie, but that was like one of the highlights when
Yeah.
Sebastian Stan pops up and he's, gives some helpful advice to Sam in that moment when the new Falcon, Joaquin Torres is like going through surgery after getting injured. I thought that was a great scene to have Bucky back. And I wonder if Cap will be in Thunderbolts because obviously Bucky's a key part of that movie. Maybe we'll get a cameo by Cap in the upcoming movie.
So while on the subject of Bucky, I said it many times. I don't go into these movies having any expectations. So I was genuinely surprised when I saw Bucky's cameo and the little heart to heart that he and Sam had. And this goes into something Christian was talking about here in the chat. I personally think they did a good job with showing Sam in his role. I just didn't like how he was again doubting himself as Captain America. And in this moment where Bucky shows up and Sam is pretty much just saying how he just feels that Steve Rogers made a mistake in making him the new Captain America. And Bucky's like, no, he didn't. It's because, you're basically just a regular person. Like, you don't have the super soldier serum. Like, all this, it's, how can I say it? A lot of people feel that what made Captain America Steve Rogers great was because obviously he was a super soldier, if you will, right? He was America's first super soldier. He, did amazing things and what have you. But I think for Sam to live up to that expectation when he's lacking in that department of super soldier serum, because he said it, he goes, I wish I had taken the super soldier serum. That way I could do all the things and protect the people. And Bucky's like, yeah, well, Steve had that. He still couldn't protect everyone that he loved. So in other words, it's like, it doesn't matter, if you have the serum or not, like you are a person. It's what you do. It's what you try to do that makes you the thing. In this case, it's Captain America. And I think I understood the significance of Sam doubting himself, because I think everyone doubts themselves at some point or multiple points in their lives. It's that whole imposter syndrome, right? Where it's like, I'm doing the thing, but am I really worthy of doing this thing, or am I qualified enough to do this thing? And it's just something that I think we as an audience can obviously relate to.
No doubt. You're right about that. But I think the Sam questioning himself is something I think that I would hang on the writing, because obviously he did that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And in this movie, like almost no one doubts Sam being Captain America. Everyone is, they say Captain America over and over when they mention him, or say, hey, Cap, or whatever. Every character that interacts with him. The only one that kind of questions it to his face is Ross when he says, you're no Steve Rogers. And, in the trailer, Sam has a retort where he's like, you're right, I'm not. But that's not in the movie, which is, again, one of these weird kind of things that
I noticed that too
from all the different versions of this movie. But the one thing I wanted to mention, like, I think it's poor writing to have Sam lament the fact that he doesn't have the super soldier serum. But in the movie, he's kicking ass. He's got that Wakandan suit. He doesn't lose a fight.
No.
He never loses a fight. So to me, it's like, you need to show him take a loss to go, man, I wish I had the super soldier serum. I wish I had the super soldier serum so I could hang with these guys. It's like, dude, you're hanging with them. Like, even if Steve had the serum, I'm sure him and Red Hulk, that would have been a battle, and there's no guarantee Steve would have necessarily won. You know what I mean? So it's like,
fair
for me, Cap, he wins every fight using the wings and the shield, and obviously his military training and his suit. So he doesn't really take any losses. So the fact that he doesn't have the serum, like, I mean, God, if he had the serum, he'd be like Superman, I guess. Like there'd be no stopping this guy. Which, I mean, honestly, if I'm Captain America, I want the serum. I want the serum as Justin Boyd. I would take it right now on the pod. We could have someone. We could have an RM come in and take care of it right now. Just shoot me up with all that stuff. But
listen, we would see the villain era unfold if that were to be the case.
No doubt. Yeah.
I love you to death, but you would not be the superhero. You'd be the villain.
Right. As Erskine says, good becomes great. Bad becomes worse. Bad becomes worse.
Yeah.
Here, folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, Sam, like, it's just kind of like, it's like a mixed message, which is kind of because there's like different versions of this movie, different versions of characters. And I think they did a really good job to kind of make it as cohesive as they could. But That would be Loki for sure. Yeah. Um, yeah, definitely. No,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, this movie is like, it's not my favorite, but I mean, there's some great stuff to it,
Yeah.
but there's plenty of stuff to kind of pick at. And, Brittany, if we're
Yep.
done with Red Hulk, well, okay. Final thing on Red Hulk that we talk about plenty of stuff, but one thing I want to talk about is what did you think about the whole like cherry blossoms of the story and the fact that again you have Liv Tyler is Betty Ross is his long lost daughter that he hasn't interacted with presumably
Hmm.
since the Hulk 17 years ago in our world.
Yeah.
What'd you think about that part of the storyline?
So to answer part one of your question about the cherry blossoms, with the estrangement between Ross and his daughter Betty, again, that was another cameo that I was very surprised to see unfold because I had heard the rumor, but I don't put a whole lot of stock in things. Also, I don't want to come in with expectations. I genuinely thought that maybe Marvel had used previous dialogue from the Incredible Hulk to like create that phone conversation when Ross finally was able to get through to Betty before he made his Rose Garden speech and then turn into the Red Hulk. I was like, this sounds very like odd. But Liv Tyler's speech pattern is and her cadence is pretty slow, right? If y'all
Yeah.
watch a lot of her movies, especially like Lord of the Rings, soft spoken, kind of just like a slower cadence. But then we actually see her, and I was like, oh my God, like it's actually Liv Tyler. She looks fantastic, of course. Uh, of course, now she's seeing her father in prison on the raft, which Ross had put Sam and company in Civil War.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny how that all came full circle. But I give credit to the writing in this sense because throughout the movie, Ross was trying to say like, I've changed. I'm trying to change. I'm trying to show my daughter that I can be a different person and be a better person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then by him taking accountability for his actions of having turned into the Red Hulk and destroying the White House and the Washington Monument and destroying the cherry blossoms, which was what he was talking to Betty about.
Mhm.
Maybe we can take a stroll down the cherry blossoms one day and talk. And she said, yeah, that'd be great. But the cherry blossom significance, especially with this treaty, which was kind of the whole story of
Yeah.
in this movie, and the significance with Japan, because there was struggle between Japan, India, France, and America about what the celestial in the Indian Ocean, who's going to govern it, if you will.
Yeah.
And
Who
the
gets
struggle,
adamantium too?
adamantium, yeah, big reveal. Whoa, crazy. I'm like, I really did that in the theater. I thought it was funny. But
Well, you didn't know that going in? That was in the trailers.
I didn't watch much of the trailers.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, see, that's my problem is I'm too locked into this stuff where
You're
I
too locked
know
in. I
all
want
this
to
stuff going in.
I
Yeah, go
want
ahead.
to be, just like no expectations. So the struggle between Japan and America in this movie, and then the symbolism of the cherry blossoms, which was a gift from Japan after the events of Pearl Harbor, World War II, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It was kind of fitting in a way, the destruction that is the cherry blossoms, and then what it represents in the long run, just peace. And in this case, it was the peace between Betty and her father, President Ross now. And I just thought that was I thought that was well done. I'm not going to hate on it. I think the symbolism was very well thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where when you have a Hulk, it's like how do you defeat a Hulk? I mean, in this case, you pretty much have to talk the Hulk down, right? That's what we happen, and that's one of the scenes where if you watch the movie, it's clearly a reshoot, an inserted scene where Sam is behind a green screen where he's like trying to talk down the Hulk
Yeah.
and convince him.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where I'm just like, it just looked really bad. Looked really bad.
Yeah, that one did look a little
Yeah, I mean,
disjointed.
it was like one of those ones where like they shot this in somebody's like backyard or something, or in a warehouse. Like at the last second, they had to green screen everything.
Probably.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that because I think that Hulk was supposed to die. With the big explosion, and they're getting Sam out of the rubble, and then Hulk, obviously knocks the car off of him. Red Hulk knocks the car off himself. Like I think
Mhm.
originally he was supposed to die there.
I wonder if they would have spun it differently. Like, obviously, there's a lot of cuts that were made for this movie. I think there was a whole entire character that was cut from this movie ultimately. But if what you're saying
Yeah.
was planned and true, if it was all a facade, you know, to in order for General Ross to or President Ross to have died, you know, they have to create this fake funeral and the flag folding and this and that, what have you. But really, they just went to imprison him in the raft, and you really don't need that facade.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, they probably took it. They probably said, okay, this is plan A. We're going to do it this way. Then it's like, no, you know, plan B, him taking responsibility, Sam making that remark when he visits him in the raft. You know, you're a better person because you took accountability for what you did. That is a little bit more impactful to Ross's character than just like killing him off.
No, I agree with you. That's a good. I didn't even think about the fact that they could have faked the president's death and then just imprisoned Ross in the raft. But that's a really good idea. I didn't think about that. So that's a good call. Maybe that's what they were going to do.
That's why you need me.
That's a better idea than what they ended up doing, I think.
Yeah. Again, this is why you need me.
Yeah. Many reasons, but yeah, your analysis of stuff is very helpful. So Red Hulk obviously is one of the key players in the movie, but he's not the main villain. The main villain is Mr. Samuel Stearns, who he plays the leader, although he's never referred to as leader one single time. He's referred to as the buyer several times. He even calls himself the hero at one point in the movie, which I thought was a weird like line read.
That was a weird.
I mean, I get how villains think they're the
hero in their own.
Yeah, right, but like that was just so like he could have just said he was the leader right there, and it would have worked. That was
off. Yeah, that was like off stuff of just saying that. I refer to him as Mr. Blue.
Right, Mr. Which I enjoyed the callback to Mr. Blue.
Yes, that was
the Hulk movie. That was like his screen name where he would chat with Banner, who was Mr. Green.
Yep.
I like how they use the Mr. Blue song, as that's how you use it, like to mind control people, including Isaiah Bradley, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yep.
But as far as Stearns, I thought this character looked awful in this movie. Like I thought, I think it's like I think he's maybe the worst looking character in the MCU.
It gave me the zombie type things from The Last of Us.
Right.
You know how I would always call them broccoli head motherfuckers? Like
there you go.
That's what it was.
He
just not as well done.
He looks so bad. And Brittany, I mentioned this because if you're watching us on YouTube, for all the video people who join us via video, via YouTube, whatever, I don't think he's supposed to look the way he end up looking, because I've got a photo here. This is merch that Marvel is selling right now. This is a standee of the character, and as you can see, he looks more like the character looks like in the comics. Like he's got hair, he's got the big head, the elongated head, but like he looks so much better. What do you think? The picture here that I'm showing, again, audio listeners, check out the video on YouTube or watch the video on Spotify. What do you think about how this looks compared to what we got in the actual movie?
I think the emphasis for Stearns was his ability to calculate probability. Obviously, he had a big brain, right?
Yeah, of course,
he could calculate all of that. The mutation that took place by having been exposed to the gamma radiation and whatnot, it changed him in the sense of how his brain worked. And that was different from that of the exposure that Hulk or Banner had, and then ultimately Thunderbolt Ross, which we didn't talk about how Thunderbolt became the Red Hulk. And I guess in talking about Stearns, we'll get to that.
I like that. Yeah, let's talk about it now. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, but to comment on this depiction of what Stearns should have looked like, we obviously have like a very enlarged cranium, right? And he still has his hair, you know, still looks very human-esque, but what we got in the movie was very different. It was as if the brain had protruded from underneath the skull, and it took shape on top of his head, no hair, what so have you, and it kind of just like grew along the side of his face, the really like green electric eyes.
He looked bad.
What Harry Potter's eyes should have looked like in the movies. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Right.
Sorry.
He looked terrible. Like, I mean, he looked
but
like
it gave
didn't
me
belong in the movie. Like,
it gave me the broccoli head mother effers from The Last of Us that scare
But
the crap out of me.
but those look so much better than this.
Oh
I
yeah,
I couldn't get to me. It was kind of like laughable. I'm like,
it was.
and like
It
the
really
actor
was.
Tim Blake Nelson's a great actor, and I thought he delivered the lines pretty well. But like
Oh yeah,
the way
yeah, without a doubt.
he looked like such a doofus. Like it just
You
like
almost couldn't take him serious, like
I
because
didn't. That's why
yeah.
I think he might be one of the worst villains in the MCU. I haven't thought about the whole list, but like he's way low on my list. As far as like the look of the character, he's the bottom. And like I don't
Yeah,
know that
he's pretty bad.
hopefully that'll never be touched because
I
like
don't know. MODOK in Quantumania, damn,
MODOK though
that was
looks like
bad too.
MODOK in the comics. Like yeah, it's they played it as a joke. And by the way,
That
it
was
was
bad.
a funny joke.
Yeah.
This guy looks, I mean,
Yeah.
this Samuel Stern's brutal. Like honestly,
was
like
brutal.
this is one of the worst things in the MCU ever, I think. It's just the way this character looks. It's so bad.
I definitely wonder if this was like one of the reasons they had to do reshoots if audiences didn't like the first take on Stern's look, and they're like, no, he needs to be more menacing, he needs to look more like a monster, he needs to, I don't know what they were thinking.
He needs to not look like the character at all. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. We need to set
He
ourselves
looks-
apart.
He looks like more like he's like a poor man's like Brainiac, which is a Superman character. Like he
Yeah.
almost looks like that. Like, but it just doesn't. It doesn't like fit in the world to me. I can't tell
It
you
was
how
a bit
disappointed-
much.
It was yeah, it was a lot.
It was
Now-
a bit much.
Now, to his credit, I did like the way, like you mentioned before, how Stearns basically turned Ross into the Hulk because
Mhm.
he gave him this heart medication that was laced with gamma, and he took these take 3 pills a day for years and years and years, and eventually that's what once he got triggered enough to get angry, he would Hulk out. So I did like that part of the storyline with Stearns.
Yeah, and while talking about Stearns and Ross, this is where one of my little nitpicks of it just the story wasn't told very well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Where the reason that Stearns was kept at this like super secret military prison, if you will, right? It was nowhere on the map. There's no infrastructure. It's all underground. Again, super secret. This prisoner is there, but he's allowed to work because Ross came to him saying, I'm dying.
Right.
I need help. If I get help from you in turn, I will pardon you for your crimes. Right. So that was the bargain. And whatever. Obviously, time passed. Stearns was not being pardoned anytime soon because Ross needed him for his big brain, the probability of being able to achieve all the things that Ross wanted to achieve. And he was an asset, obviously. Well, when push came to shove, Sam and Joaquin go to visit the super secret facility and they learn of who Stearns is. They learn of the people that he has been mind controlling, which I thought was a kind of a weird thing. Like, we're really going to do this whole mind control business with the flashing lights and then the song that triggers people, because that gave me there was a separate movie outside of the MCU I thought about, but I can't think of right now, but how Bucky was like activated, right? When the certain words were said and then that person could control the Winter Soldier. So it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
What did I say?
It was in Civil War.
Right.
Yeah.
But in general, that's kind of like the same idea. It's just we've got flashing lights instead and like a song that triggers them, which I thought was just like, like, okay, sure, fine. We'll go with that. Everyone's got cell phones. Everyone's somehow exposed to light in one way or another.
Yeah.
And Stearns just like pick and choose who he wants to do all the bad things, right? What bothered me was when he escaped from that prison and he's still coming after Ross. He's like, he calls him up, right? And he's like, you said all this, you didn't fulfill your side, now I'm going to expose you, what have you. It's like, dude, you're out. Like, who gives a fuck about a pardon? You're out. You can do all the bad things that you want. Why draw attention to yourself? Like, if your goal is to ruin Ross's legacy, cool. But like, you don't need to taunt the guy and you don't need to call him up and be like, hey, I'm out. We already know. Like, I thought that it kind of fell apart right there a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, did you want it ultimately be caught? Because then why would you go to Sam and then taunt him too, knowing that MPs were going to pick you up and then take you to the raft? Also, why is he at the same facility as Ross?
Very good point. Yeah. I mean, this movie, it's just not as smart as it thinks it is. And that again, that
No,
goes to the writing, and it's not as entertaining as it could be, I think. There are a lot of ways where this movie could
I
have
was
been much
entertained because
better.
holes at this
Well, I
stuff.
was entertained also, but like to me, like this movie, like it wasn't it wasn't a miss, but it wasn't a solid hit either.
No, it wasn't.
It's good. It's fine.
Still
Like
not a terrible movie.
no, I no, it's not
whatever.
terrible, but there are parts of it that are really, really poor, and I was kind of
Fair.
surprised by that. Speaking of one of the things that I thought was pretty poor, the post-credit scene,
Uh,
which,
that was definitely an afterthought.
that was definitely a reshoot last second, probably honestly, probably shot, like, a month or 2 before the movie. We
I
get
agree.
you mentioned Stearns ends up on the raft. Sam goes to talk to him for whatever reason, and Stearns tells him basically like, "Oh, you think you die for this world, and you think you're the only, you think this is the only world, and we'll see what happens when you have to protect this place from the others." And talking about other worlds, which I guess is leading toward Doomsday and Secret Wars, and that stuff. To me, it's kind of funny because this movie really like if you watched any kind of promo stuff or listen to the actors, listen to the director, everyone kept saying, we're trying to go for that Winter Soldier thing. We're going for that Winter Soldier vibes. It's like,
Mm.
but then at the very end, then you try to like mix in this multiversal thing, which I get it. This is the multiverse saga, but
It,
again, it
but
just doesn't it
they were
doesn't
stating
work.
something. They were stating something that's already understood.
Well, yeah, you're right. Exactly. And also,
We
but
know we're in the multiverse. Like we as the audience
right,
know that.
right,
Sam has also experienced other worlds coming
right,
into his world.
right.
So again, not new
Yeah.
information,
And
not a big reveal.
he saw Steve leave him as
Yes.
a like 25, 30-year-old looking man, and then return as a, who knows, 80, 90-year-old man, like within
1,000.
within a 2-minute period.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, obviously he's seen crazy stuff. I mean, Sam was one of half of the world that was blipped out of existence for 5 years.
Yep.
So like there's
5
been
years.
plenty of crazy things that have happened. So this was solely just like a, hey, we have to point to something that's coming ahead, which now granted, this is one of those post credits where I think it's going to pay off because I mean, it's very
Yeah.
vague, but it's
Yeah.
also like, yes, there's going to be other worlds. There's going to be other characters from,
Well,
other universes that are going to collide. And we're going to get that in Secret Wars and
I
Doomsday.
think it
But
I think it tees up even for, like, Fantastic Four because the fact that that's
right,
supposed to be, like, another world, different
right.
era sort
Yeah.
of vibe that will eventually cross over into our 616
Yeah.
potentially. So, yeah, but then again, it's like, well, that wasn't, like, a really big, like, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen?" kinda thing. Now,
Yeah.
I wonder too, because the fact that rumors have been going around again recently about Marvel possibly bringing back Jonathan Majors to reprise his role as Kang and then tie up that loose end. Again, it's a rumor. I'm not putting a whole lot of stock into it, but we also know there are several Kangs.
There are. Um, I don't see that one happening anytime soon. It may happen eventually, but it's going to be after this multiverse stuff, or it's going to be after we see Secret Wars, I would guess.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's that. Let's talk about some of the other characters that. Let's talk about the new Falcon, Joaquin Torres, played by Danny Ramirez. What do you think about this character in this movie?
Cutie patootie. Oh my goodness. I loved him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Sadly, that show is not one of my favorites in the Disney Plus series of Marvel
Yeah.
television. However, I think he's just adorable. I love how it's kind of like you're seeing like Sam and Bucky, but like just in a different sense, in a way. Like you're talking about now you've got two minorities who are hey trying to live, trying to do all the things that they can do. And for Joaquin, he reveals to Sam after he gets injured in their fight with trying to get U.S. Aircrafts to stop being mind controlled and fighting the Japanese out in the Indian Ocean around the Celestial, right? Sorry. But But Joaquin gets injured. He ends up in the hospital, like you said, surgery, what
Yeah.
have you. Sam goes to visit him, and Joaquin reveals to him that, growing up in Miami, and I saw the Avengers, and when all I wanted to be was, and before he could finish, Sam's like, "Don't say Ant-Man, don't say Ant-Man," and
Yeah.
he's like, "No," he goes, "I wanted to be you."
Yeah.
And so for a young man who his hero was the Falcon, and then he actually has the opportunity to work with the former Falcon and take on that moniker and wear the uniform, what have you. That's huge. Like, that's really huge. I think that speaks volumes to like the American dream, if you will, which, Captain America, yes, he represents more than just the country itself. It's the dream, and it's a dream for minorities to be more than what others may have perceived them to be.
Right.
Right. And so I think it's a really beautiful message in general. But Joaquin, to me, like, I love his comedic timing. I love how he just has great conversations with Sam. But then also he's supposed to be like wicked smart, where he can like hack into all these things. And I'm like, okay, like these programs and stuff, like nothing is out of reach for him, which I thought was kind of interesting. Kind of gave me Black Widow vibes when she and Steve were on their journey to find out about the Winter Soldier in that movie, right? She's like hacking into a USB drive at the Apple store of all damn places. So that's what it kind of reminded me of. So, but I think he's cool. I think he's cool.
Yeah. No, I like the character a lot. One of the things I heard about this movie before I saw it, people were saying he's very annoying. And I didn't think that at all. Like, I thought he definitely has
he's cocky, whatever.
Yeah, but he has that sidekick energy. Whereas like you think about when he had Steve and Sam, like Steve is this legend, this icon, but Steve and Sam were more like peers. Whereas in this relationship, Sam, like, Joaquin's Falcon is more of like Robin to Sam's Batman.
I was just going to say the exact same thing.
And they are a dynamic duo because the way that like they're fighting, the flying and the suits, like I thought the aerial fighting stuff was awesome. The action in this movie is really good.
Yeah, it really is.
I got to give it credit. Like I thought that was one of the better parts of the movie. Some of it doesn't look great, but like I thought the action, the fight, the hand-to-hand fighting was cool, and the aerial stuff was pretty cool. I thought that the Celestial would come into play more than it did. It really didn't.
I'm glad it didn't
play too much. Well, I know, but like to me, like you bring
it
up,
ease back into that.
To me, it's just like a backdrop. Like there's not much more to it. Maybe we'll get something else. And obviously, adamantium is not going away. That's the metal that is used in Wolverine's body. So we're gonna get more of that. I did think it was kind of laughable when they're like, well, adamantium is more indestructible than vibranium. And I'm like, more indestructible? Like, how does that make sense? Like, I know you're just trying to say it's better, but like, I mean, if something's indestructible, you can't be more indestructible. Like doesn't make sense.
Can we cue in Disturbs indestructible here?
Yeah.
Sorry. You just keep saying it.
Okay. Yeah. I thought that was kind of funny, but no, I like Joaquin Torres. Obviously he's going to be a part of the Avengers because he's Sam's right-hand man. So happy to see that actor continue. He was in Top Gun Maverick also. So
he's also going to be in the second season of The Last of Us.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah.
I did not know that until right now.
Yes.
Very, very cool. Okay, very cool.
He will be in the show somehow.
Yep. Now we saw Joaquin Torres like get his debut in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And speaking of Falcon and Winter Soldier, there was another Captain America, the forgotten Captain America, that was in that show, and he makes a big appearance in this movie. Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley. He has some of the best scenes in the movie.
Man,
he is one of the people who is brainwashed by Mr. Blue by the song from Stearns, and he shoots it at President Ross, and so then he's arrested, and he does kind of have like the emotional core of the movie. What'd you think about Isaiah Bradley in this film?
Ooh, that was a little tough to watch. Let's see if I can get through this without getting emotional myself. The story that we got in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier of Isaiah being basically the first, one of the first super soldiers.
I think he's the original.
I think he is the original. Yeah, you're right. But he was experimented on for 30 years and in prison for 30 years and wrongfully, just treated just so poorly. And, that's the plight of a lot of, and I'll just say minority soldiers, if you will, especially for the era that was. And seeing him, of course, train with Sam, and then introduce Joaquin, and Joaquin's like trying to throw some jokes about about orthopedics and this and that, what have you. I thought was kind of funny, but obviously Isaiah can hold his own, right? You don't mess with the grumpy old man,
Yeah,
right?
He did take the super soldier serum. He was given it, and he has the power. Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't mess with this man.
Yeah.
You will die. But seeing how he was brainwashed, clearly he did some terrible acts under the influence, if you will, running away from the White House, running out to the open. And I don't remember if that monument that was there was, because I've been to DC and I just don't remember all the monuments off the top of my head, but I'm sure that was a significant spot to have this conversation between Isaiah and Sam, because Isaiah has no recollection of what happened in the White House, why he's being chased after. And I see how broken he was at that point. And it hurt me for several reasons, because obviously minority servicemen have been treated very differently than others throughout the years.
Yeah.
And seeing how old Isaiah is, knowing his story, and knowing that America has not always treated our veterans in the best way. I also saw my dad, right? Ooh, here we go. And it hurt me in general.
Yeah.
But I felt for him in that moment, because he's like saying, Sam, I can't go back. Like, I can't go back to prison again. And for Sam to say running would be worse.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like this is, and just the climate of, today's country is just, everything just hits so hard these days. And I feel for it. It's tough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he was a great addition to the movie. I think, for as emotional as his scenes are, they're kind of like just a part of a bunch of other things that kind of like, it's kind of like it's immediately on the back burner until the very end of the movie, which I didn't really like that part of it. I feel like it could have been a bigger part. Hopefully he'll continue on in the Captain America stories with Sam and Joaquin.
I hope so.
There are a couple of characters from Falcon Winter Soldier that I'm surprised did not appear in this movie. For example, Baron von Zemo. There was no Zemo. There was no Sharon Carter, the power broker.
There was no Sharon Carter.
I thought we might get Sharon Carter back.
Yeah, but I felt like maybe that would have been too far of a stretch, because she's the power broker, and
right.
How do you like tie all that into? I actually don't even remember what happened to Zemo.
Zemo's on the raft. That's how he ended Falcon Winter Soldier. So he's probably right there with Stearns and Ross at the end of the movie. But did not get to see him. Sam.
Yeah, no, but Isaiah Bradley, I'm glad that they continued featuring him, having a pretty important role in this movie, because he even tells Sam at some point, like, if you want to help me, don't come back when he's in prison, right? He's don't come back. He's already resided to the idea that he was going to die in prison.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the fact he was going to go on trial and probably be given the death penalty was kind of huge.
Also weird, because he didn't kill the president. He shot at him, but he didn't kill him.
So it's treacherous behavior, if you will.
Right. But again, it's not like, to me, like, don't you have to kill somebody to get the death penalty? I feel like you do. Right.
But if it's towards the president, I'm sure, I don't know what all the laws and such. I mean, there's so many old school like things that you don't think about that's still considered treason these days. So
to me, this is the writing part of it, where this movie just kind of falls apart, where it's just like not on the same level as either Captain America movies or the other really good Marvel movies. That's honestly what holds this movie back. Like,
bring back the writers. No more strikes.
In my eyes. What did you think about Ruth Bat-Seraph, who is the we've learned that she's a member of a former Black Widow. Her character obviously changed a lot in this movie, because the character in the comics is she's Israeli, and she's a mutant. She has powers, and we see none of that in this movie. And
I mean, she was identified as being Israeli and having
Right,
grown up in the Red
right,
Room and what have you.
right,
So I was a little confused by her in general because when the camera kept panning back to her during the summit, if you will, when Ross is giving his speech about this treaty and Celestial Island and all this stuff,
right,
the camera kept going back to her, and I'm like, okay, well, she's of some significance.
right.
And I thought that she was also brainwashed like the rest of these other shooters, right? But not realizing that she is part of the president's security detail or head of the security detail, right?
Right.
And first and foremost, I'm like, shout out to my little people, my short people, because like
She little.
she little.
Yeah.
She little. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. There's hope for me that I could be a badass and like take
Well,
down.
first of all, you are, but like,
Oh, thank you.
I don't know
But
that you're like that you're like a fighter like that, but like,
I don't know.
still.
It's giving me hope though.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
I'm not an optimistic person. No, but like watching her walk away with Sam and Joaquin from the super secret military prison thing, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, she itty bitty. Like
Yeah.
she's just of course, next to Isaiah Bradley too. I
Yeah.
mean, he's like 6 foot something tall. It's like you and I like walking side by side, right? But I was like, oh, she's itty bitty.
She
But
looked like a kid. She looked like a
yeah,
child.
she looked like a
Yeah.
kid. It was crazy. But she held her own, right? And then you kind of see her soften a little bit. Like she was really, you couldn't change her mind about the fact that she was there to protect the president. She's like convinced that Isaiah was trying to assassinate the president, et cetera, et cetera. And then she starts unfolding what Sam and Joaquin are seeing with the footage and the flashing of the light on the phone and whatnot. And so she's starting to realize, okay, there's more to it than what I thought to believe. So at least that was kind of good that they didn't waste time on trying to convince her. She just kind of like eventually figured it out on her own and started teaming up with them and what have you. And then in the very end, apparently she and Isaiah were going to go grab courtside tickets to a game.
Right.
And Sam says, I'm glad you found someone as grumpy and whatever as you are. And Isaiah's like, say that again.
Right.
I was like, oh shit. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna just sit my ass down and like not say anything.
Yeah.
She's cool. Yeah, she's cool. I wonder if she's gonna continue
Mhm.
being of any importance in the MCU just because of the fact that she reported to Ross. Ross is obviously in the raft.
Right.
Is she going to be asked to join the Avengers because she's a former Black Widow?
Mm.
Don't know. Don't know
I
what the future is for her.
I don't think so. I think this character obviously a lot of scenes were cut from this character because this character is featured in a lot of the different trailers over the years.
I did not watch these trailers.
No, I'm just telling you, but a lot of the scenes that they show in the trailer are not in the movie. So I think her part was cut down significantly. Even there's one part where you see her where she has on like a superhero kind of suit, but she's got a big jacket over it, and there's no explanation. You don't see it again.
Yeah, I did notice that.
This character, it's like they cut her out as much as they possibly could. It seems like for whatever they had planned originally. So, yeah.
So I wonder, did they cut down her scenes to make room for another character that just felt completely disjointed? Maybe not completely disjointed.
Who is that? Giancarlo Esposito?
Sidewinder.
So originally, Sidewinder was going to be played by WWE star Seth Rollins.
Oh God!
It's interesting because like the name of Sidewinder, the character's name is like Seth Volker. So it's interesting they went for a Seth.
Yeah.
But I think in theory, Seth Rollins was going to be like kind of like GSP was as a Bat-Rock. Yeah, because obviously Seth Rollins is much more of a physical presence than Giancarlo Esposito. Obviously, Giancarlo Esposito is a much better actor because Seth Rollins is not necessarily an actor per se.
Yeah.
But it's weird that they made that change because the set pictures that were leaked of Seth Rollins, he had more of like a comic book accurate like suit of the character. And you know, this is one of those things again where like they never say the Serpent Society, they say the Serpent. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
And all of the characters in the Serpent Society, they all have like snake-like names. Like, for example, there's like a character named Diamondback, and there's another one like Sidewinder is a snake-like name. And there was another character that was like fully cut out of this movie. The character's name is once again the Diamondback. who played by Rosa Salazar, and
She was
if you
completely cut.
yeah, she's a character who's in all pink, and if you're like, "Oh, I remember that from the Happy Meal toys from, like, last summer." She has, like, pink hair, she's like a pink and black outfit. They made a toy of the character, and once again, the character is completely out of the movie, and, just like how like we showed earlier with the Samuel Sterns, they're selling, like, Funko Pops of Stearns looking like he does in the picture that I showed earlier, not like he does in the movie.
It's
So
probably
you
best
can
for
tell
sales anyway.
this movie just, like, had so many changes and multiple
So
rewrites and reshoots and just, like, it was just they kinda stitched it together at probably the last minute, and
right.
for that, I give them credit for making it as cohesive as it is, but it's not as good as it should have been.
So with Sidewinder, say it one more time.
Sidewinder?
Sidewinder.
Yep.
I will get this one day. Sidewinder. That was a character that I later found out was part of the reshoots. So this
Right.
does that mean that he originally was not ever going to be in the movie and they just needed someone to kind of use as a
Well
pawn?
what I'm saying is Seth Rollins was the original Sidewinder in the movie,
Ah, okay,
and
okay, okay.
they changed I think they changed the movie because I think they went away from the comic accurate looking suits because the Diamondback character played by this Rosa
Yeah, yeah,
Salazar
yeah, yeah.
actress, like I said, she has this, like, jumpsuit that's, like, pink and black, and Seth Rollins is wearing this, like, almost like it looks like a wrestling outfit he would wear,
Mhm.
and they went away from that and went to the more, like, realistic grounded thing where it's, like, Giancarlo Esposito is just like this, like, this gangster kinda guy, like, with guns
Mhm.
and stuff. Yeah, I heard Luna shake off there.
Right.
Luna's getting some
Well,
good rest, yeah.
so what I learned about Sidewinder in the comics is that he's got some blue eyes, and they at least did that with Giancarlo's character.
Yeah.
He's obviously an Afro American
Mhm.
character, and he's got blue eyes. I'm like, oh, okay, like that, cool. If that's like a nod to the comic and what have you. I liked his use of speaking the Spanish language. Viva la raza. And you know, he was a cool character, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it just felt like very not cohesive with the story, and then
Well
they
mhm.
did try to explain how he's in cahoots with the leader because it was like a trap to draw in Captain America because they're
Right.
trying to get to Ross. I was like, "Okay." But
Well
then Sam Wilson comes back to Sidewinder later after he's been in prison to get information about the leader and what have you, and makes like this, uh what do you call it? Like a not a bet, but like if you give me good information, I'll do this for you kind of thing.
right.
And so I guess this isn't the end of Sidewinder and maybe Serpent Society. Are they basically like a new
Maybe,
Hydra kind
maybe.
of situation?
Yeah, maybe. The thing that's very telling about Giancarlo Esposito's his, role in this movie, you notice that, like, in the scenes he's in, he's kinda like the only person in the scene, and it's very rare that he's right next to a person. So, like, they made it where it was easy to add him into the movie, whereas I think, like, the Seth Rollins version of the character was probably more involved in the hand-to-hand fighting and more, with multiple people in the scene, and so when they cut that out, they could easily insert Giancarlo Esposito's part in these movies because he's not really around another person, very rarely, except for Sam, right? So I don't know. It's interesting. I This is one of those things where I like the movie okay, but I think I'm gonna be really interested if there ever is an addendum to that Marvel Studios book that I was talking about so much last year.
Oh yeah.
Wait to read the chapter about this movie because it's gonna be a lengthy chapter with all kinds of good information that people like me just absolutely eat up. So
Yeah.
that part of it I'm looking forward that I think that chapter in that book, if it ever happens, is gonna be better than this movie from my perspective. So, again, I like the movie fine, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff to pick at, and, I wish it were a little bit better. Um,
Mhm.
Brittany, is there anything else that we didn't get to that you wanna mention?
I think we've pretty much hit all the high points. The fact that they finally did something with the Celestial that's been sitting in the Indian Ocean for
Yeah,
years, and like no one has ever thought to elaborate. And
yeah,
uh, it's established that Sam Wilson is obviously the new Captain America. Oh, going back to Bucky
yep,
real quick. Bucky's running for Congress.
he is.
Like that was new information. I liked how the Ruth, was that her name? I liked how
Yep.
she obviously admired the specimen that is one Bucky Barnes. Girl, I'm right there with you. But that was new information for me, at least, obviously, maybe the
Yeah.
rest of the world, about Bucky running for Congress. And is his character in Thunderbolts, which comes out later this year,
Mhm.
is this going to be pre Captain America Brave New
It's
World or
post.
post?
It's
It's gonna be
after it.
post.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just curious now, because if he's running for Congress and he's assembling essentially a Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
how is that gonna go for his political campaign and career? And
Yeah.
I mean, look what happened to Ross. So I don't
Yeah.
know how well that the American people are gonna accept that.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I do wonder what's going to happen with his, will he be elected? Will he not be? Um, he's obviously a big part of Thunderbolts. So,
Mhm.
we shall
Yeah,
see. That movie comes out May 2nd. So,
for sure.
yeah.
And I think that was probably the one of the only thing we didn't talk about when
Yeah.
Bucky made his appearance. I don't know if there were any other Easter eggs that maybe we have missed. I've done a little bit of research post watching this movie. But I think overall what you said, it's a good movie. It's I was entertained for sure. I feel like
Yeah.
this is kind of like a good, in a way, a reset movie because there's been some problems with this particular saga that we're in. And I feel like this is kind of like a good reset to kind of get us back on track to what a lot of people deem the golden era of
Yeah.
the MCU. And it's we've always said it here, y'all. This is a rebuild phase. It's taken some time. There's been some hiccups along
Well,
the way.
now we're
But
2 phases deep into the rebuild because this is
yeah,
phase 5
this
and
is true.
phase 6 starts with Fantastic Four in July. And I wanted to mention that since phase 3 wrapped up with Avengers Endgame and then with Spider-Man Far From Home, we've had 12 movies now in phases
Mm,
4 and 5. And so Brittany, I'm
good
gonna
grief.
ask you, where does this movie rank amongst those 12? And I'm gonna read off the list. So
Okay.
in order, we have phase 4 movies: Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. That's phase 4. Now,
Ooh.
phase 5, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, and now Captain America: Brave New World. So those 12 movies, where does Brave New World rank amongst the 12 that I've listed?
I would definitely say it's somewhere in the middle.
That's it.
Somewhere like middle, but
That's
closer to the higher
almost exactly what I
higher
have.
end. I would
Yeah.
say maybe 5,
Yeah.
maybe 5, 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah, I have it like
4,
6
5, or
or
6.
7. Like, I think it's
Okay.
I think this movie is, for me, it's better than Shang-Chi, it's better than Eternals, it's better than Wakanda Forever, it's better than Black Widow, although it's very similar to Black Widow. It's better than Quantumania, it's much better than the Marvels, but it's not as good as, like, Spider-Man No Way Home, it's not as good as Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
I love Thor and Love and Thunder. I like Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. So there's,
Yeah.
to me, it's kinda in the middle, like you said, and,
Yeah.
um,
I'd say it's in the middle for sure.
this movie, because it's a current Marvel movie, is getting a lot of hate, right? And hate online works because of the engagement of social media and the engagement. Like, so that actually works better than people liking stuff. But I think this movie is like, it's middle of the pack. And I'm not saying it's mid, because I hate when people say stuff's mid, but like, it's middle of the pack. Also, like, those movies I mentioned are not the best of Marvel. Still, the movies I mentioned are some of the highest grossing movies of the last couple of years. So
Yeah.
even as Marvel has been in kind of a decline, they're still churning out hit movies, still making a lot of money. And every studio in Hollywood would trade places with them in a heartbeat. Trust me, they would. They absolutely would. So, um, again, a little perspective on the Marvel decline in the movie scene. I just wanted to provide that. Also, I wanted to mention, like I said, I saw this movie twice, and the first time I saw it was a fan event on the Thursday preview night, and it was pretty cool because before the movie, they only had 2 trailers. They only showed the trailer for Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, And then when they did the countdown for the movie starts, there's usually like a countdown of like 10 down to 1. They did the countdown was like in the Fantastic Four font. And it was like Fantastic Four
Mhm.
styling. So it's a very cool little opening. I saw it IMAX, and both Anthony Mackie and um, Danny Ramirez were there to kind of like introduce the movie because the movie was supposedly shot specifically for IMAX. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And the last thing I want to do, I want to show off some of the Captain America Brave New World merchandise I got at the theaters. So let me show you here.
Oh boy.
I got the Captain America blue flight helmet. They actually have a couple different ones. Hopefully
It looks
you
like
can see it.
Ant-Man's helmet.
It does look like Ant-Man, but obviously, if you see the movie, it's what he wears. The popcorn bucket. You put the popcorn in the back here.
Nice.
Pretty cool stuff. I also got this Ripper cup, which the cup is so cool because it's a Cap suit,
Oh, that is cool.
and then the top is the shield, right?
Very nice.
Very cool stuff there. I got both those at Regal. There is a really cool collapsible shield popcorn bucket for AMC. I did not get that in person. However, I have ordered it. So I might do a video about that at some point. And then finally, I got this big Captain America Brave New World popcorn tin, which I don't know if you can see it very well, but the lid,
Put it more in front of your face.
yeah, the lid is like a giant shield.
Ooh,
So
there
very
you go.
cool. Big popcorn bucket. Love this stuff. So
My God. So is your house like just full, like a wall of popcorn buckets?
I've got a wall of popcorn buckets. Yeah, I've got a ton of them. So, and hey, it's going to be a big year for me because obviously we got Thunderbolts coming up, which I'm not sure how much they're going to have of that stuff, but Superman and Fantastic Four are going to have a ton of stuff. And Superman, believe me, Superman, I'm going to buy everything Superman. So like my wallet's going to take a beating in July.
Oh,
yeah, Yesenia said it right. Everyone's trying to do the shields. Yeah, definitely. Really cool.
They should have done something, I feel like, with Red Hulk. Like,
they did.
Like
the
fist?
Not the fist. They have like it's like a bust of his like shoulder and head. The popcorn's in the back.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. It looks pretty cool though. Yeah.
I think the fist would have been more appropriate because it's like,
yeah,
if you have the opening around where the wrist is and you put the popcorn there, then like you're turning yourself into, that'd be kind of cool.
I agree. Good stuff.
Why don't they hire me? Good Lord.
I think you should maybe apply yourself more. Okay.
Yeah. You should, but that takes effort.
Let them know that you can help them out with their designs. So
yeah.
Because they need money. They need help making money. No doubt.
I need money too. So
yeah, I could use some as well. So
I
so I could buy more popcorn buckets because I've got a ton of them. So
there you go.
Anyway, Brittany, anything else about Captain America Brave New World before we get out of here?
For those who haven't watched it and yet y'all watched our review on it, please leave a comment when you're going to go watch it. If you liked it, we'd love to know your thoughts, your feedback about what you liked, maybe what you didn't like. I mean, for right now, it's doing very well at the box office. Opening weekend was successful. I would say. I think it's a good movie for what it is. You know, I can't say anything really bad about it. There's some holes, but not as much holes as I've seen with other movies as of late. So yeah, and for those who joined us today in our live stream, we very much appreciate it. Shout out to Yesenia, to King B. Johnson, to Christian, and to anyone else who might have stopped by without saying hello. We appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are currently at 431 subscribers. We're on the road to 500. So let's make that happen for 2025. Let's get to 500 subscribers. Don't forget to like this video as well as hit the notification bell. That way you know the next time we will go live, which, Justin, when will that be?
I'm not sure yet. We've got a couple things that could be possible, but the next big thing is Daredevil Born Again, which starts in March. So
excited.
We will be talking about that show once it hits. We might do something before that.
Yep.
But yeah, there's lots. I mean, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is very good. The finale is this Wednesday, the final 2 episodes. So hopefully I can get somebody to join me to watch that. We can maybe talk about that. Or if not, then we'll definitely be doing Daredevil Born Again, like I said, in a few weeks. So
yeah. We also got
stuff coming up.
We've got some other things coming up too, as well as The Handmaid's Tale, the final season, as well as the final season of You. So if you guys are into the Hulu and Netflix shows, be sure to once again subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you know when we will be going live to talk about those seasons, because your girl needs to talk about them as well. Last of Us is also going to happen in April as well. Lots happening in April, Justin. We're going to be really busy this spring.
There's a lot going on.
And we would love to have you join us for every step of the way. You can also follow our social media. Those links are in the description box down below. And also check out our audio podcasts available on Apple and Spotify. Be sure to give us a follow and give us a like. Or no, not a like, a 5-star rating. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. Before I go Red Hulk on y'all's asses. So
there you go.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brittany. So for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.